Very well. Hello everyone, this is Pablo Pasos. We are going to start the EHRServer demo in a couple of minutes. So stay tuned. So my name is Pablo Pasos. I am a computer engineer, a software engineer. I live in Uruguay. It's a small country in South America. And I'm the director of Cabo Labs Healthcare Informatics. It's a small consultancy company. We give consultancy on healthcare informatics, standards, and interoperability to projects on that area, and also training services for companies and the e-health community. So what I'm going to demonstrate on this Hangout is our main project. The EHRServer is an open source project that is very stable. So you can consider that a product, an open source product. Here you have on our website, you have all the information about the project. It's just cabolabs.com-n-projects. You have the old demo there, the video. I will upload this demo to the website. Some general features of the EHRServer and the documentation here below. You have a white paper that is in English, and the EHRServer guide that has all the technical documentation. So you can, if you need to solve an issue, to know how to configure, how to use the EHRServer, you can just use this guide. So what's the EHRServer? The EHRServer is an open source clinical data repository. It's service oriented. It has an interface, an API that is REST API to access information, clinical information. It can contain any kind of clinical documents with any internal structure, and that is accomplished through the openEHR standard. So the EHRServer is an openEHR compliant server, and also you need to consider that the EHRServer is a backend system. It's not an EMR. It's not to record information directly from end users, from doctors or nurses. It's a backend system, so you create your own clinical information systems, your own clinical recording information systems above the EHRServer. So using the EHRServer. The EHRServer has a user interface, but the user interface is for administration, is to manage the EHRServer and the information there. And I will show you all those features in the demo. So first, to understand where the EHRServer can be used, so before going to the demo, I will just show you some examples that are on the white paper, really here. So you just can download the PDF. So one case is when you have a hospital and you have several information systems, clinical information systems, and each of those has its own database. So they don't share any data, but they all contain information about the same patients, maybe. So the EHR of each patient is fragmented through the different systems. And here I just show 3 systems, but in a big hospital you can have more systems. You can have 10, 15 different systems. Each one can contain information about patients, and they might not share that information between the whole hospital. So that's a big problem, because the doctors don't have all the information about their patients when they need to make clinical decisions about treatment, maybe. So healthcare quality is affected by that. Then the first application of the EHRServer is just to use it as a shared EHR. So you just connect all your systems and just copy the information from those systems to the EHRServer in a standard fashion. So you have all the information standardized in the EHRServer, and you just connect your systems to send information to the EHRServer and retrieve information from the EHRServer. So you have really a shared integrated EHR with this scheme. But you can have more than just 3 systems. So you can connect other systems that are clinical related or are services like pharmacy or laboratory or imaginology to get information or to put information in the EHRServer and share that information between all the systems. And also you can connect systems that are for data analysis. So you might have a data warehouse. There, data warehouse doesn't create any data, but it consumes data, a lot of data. The idea of having a standardized EHRServer before loading the information to the data warehouse is because the data warehouse needs the information to be in one specific format. There is a process that is called ETL, that is extraction, transformation, and loading, that needs to be done when you implement a data warehouse to analyze information. The problem is the extraction and transformation process is really expensive, considering that the sources of your information have their own internal format, their own internal structure, and you need to put the data in different structures, in different formats, in one format that suits the data warehouse needs. With the EHRServer in the middle, you have the data already standardized. So you don't need to standardize your data to the extraction and transformation process, or that process, the complexity of that process is really minimized. So that's the main idea of this kind of use case for the EHRServer. Another example of what you can do with the EHRServer is to use it as a backend to your mobile applications. So if you have a clinical mobile application, maybe to be used by doctors or by nurses or by the patient itself to record maybe exercise, maybe track vital signs, maybe track medication, if the patient takes or not their medications, to send reminders, etc. And all that information that you show or that you can record on those systems also is clinical information that is part of the clinical record of the patient in the EHR. So you need a backend system, because if you don't have a backend system, you will have that information just in the mobile application. And you need to share that information maybe with your doctor, or your doctor needs to share information with you. So you use the EHRServer as a repository to share information between these applications. The nice thing about this is that the REST API of the EHRServer, and that it's the fact that it supports XML and JSON formats that are very common on today's mobile application development, is really easy to integrate the EHRServer with a mobile application. Even if it's not to record information, but just to display information, to show information on the screen. Yeah, you can do that very easily. So those are two main use cases for the EHR server. And you have on the technical documentation, on the EHR server guide, you have all the information about how to install the EHR server, how to configure the EHR server, how to manage it, and also about the all the documentation about the REST API. So you can start actually integrating the EHR server into your systems. Yeah, so that is, here is all described, all what you can do with the EHR server currently. This is updated on every release of the EHR server, so you can check that later when we release the next version. This will be updated. And let's go to the demo. Yeah, I will show the current system. This is an installation that we have on OpenShift. Is a cloud backend platform as a service provider. You can install the EHR server in your PC, in your computer, or you can deploy it in a cloud server like this, in Amazon, in OpenShift, or any kind of server that supports Java technologies, really. This is a small server, by the way. It has the application and the database in the same server, and it works really well. But it is a test server for us. It's a staging server. So this is not a production server. Even though it works really, really well here. And you can, because we use this also for courses and workshops, you can create here an account and you can test it yourself. So I invite you to test it, and you will see all the functionalities for yourself. And if you detect any issues, you can report that to us to improve the project, because consider that this is an open source project, so feedback from the community is really appreciated by us. I will show you later how to do that. So the login requires a username, a password, and an organization number that will be assigned to you when you create your account. And I'm logged in as an administrator of the system. One of the things that is not functional but is visual is that this user interface is responsive, so you can access to the EHR server from your mobile device, from your phone, from your tablet, and you will see the interface adapt to your device screen size. So if you have a phone, you will see the application like this. It is useful when you are on the go and you want to check something quickly. You have all the sections here. So this is very useful and looks nice. But if you are on a desktop computer, you will see the interface like this. Consider, as I said, this is a management user interface, and I am an administrator of the system. I'm not an end user. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a patient. This is for administrators. So here you have the EHRs that are on the system, contributions that are just logs of changes to EHRs. Queries are normal queries to get data out of the EHR server, and templates are the openEHR templates. That is the definition of the clinical documents that are supported by the system. I will go through each section. This is just a dashboard. We can add later more indicators here, maybe charts. I don't know. This can be improved a lot. If you have any ideas to improve this, are very welcome. We have a record of people on the system. These are people that can be patients, can be doctors. Yeah, mainly for patients. We use this mainly for patients. So we have information about the patients associated with the EHRs. So base is pretty basic information just to identify the patients associated with the EHRs. And you can see the patient name here and some basic data, and you can see you can access the EHR of each patient from here. Yeah, and you can create new patients just from the creation interface. The EHRs are created for patients, and each EHR has its unique identifier. This is globally unique. These are just testing EHRs because they have a weird ID, but this is generated by the system and it's unique globally. And this is the ID, the unique ID of the patient associated with the EHR. When you go to the details of an EHR, you can see some interesting stuff here, like the patient name, the patient ID, the identifier of this EHR, the date of creation of this EHR, and you can also see all the changes that were made to this EHR. These are all the commits of documents, clinical documents, to the EHR. So you have here just a map of the commits, and you can see the dates here where someone just added a document to the EHR. And below, you can see the details of those documents that were added to the EHR. This, in the openEHR jargon, we call them contributions. All the changes, all the additions to the EHR are contributions. And you can see the date of the contribution, maybe the doctor or the nurse responsible of this document. Yeah, and you can see the identifier of the clinical document, the date that the document was created in the client system. This document should be created by our clinical record application when the doctors can record clinical information, and it might be different to the date or the time that document was sent to the EHR of the patient, because you can create the document first and then send the document to the EHR later. And you can actually see the type of document. This is an identifier we use in the openEHR standard, that is the identifier of a clinical encounter, just a visit to the doctor. And you can see the contents of the document in a nice format here. It is taking some time. Good. We have some testing data. This is just auto-generated, but here you can see this is blood pressure. This document is in Spanish, but this is blood pressure and some examples of information about diagnosis and clinical examination. And you can access the technical representation of this document. This is what client applications actually send to the EHRServer. So here is all the information in XML format, and this information, this format is compliant with the openEHR standard. So there is an schema that represents this XML, and you can validate this XML against that schema before sending it to the EHRServer. But the EHRServer uses that schema to validate this, so it will return to you any errors we find in your XML. So you can see blood pressure here, you can see some dates there, and you can see the values, systolic, diastolic blood pressure. You can see a clinical examination information, you can see diagnosis information, etc. So it's all there. And you can see all the documents here, and you can see different kinds of documents. Like this one is about vital signs. So if you see the contents of this document, you will see some vital sign data like blood pressure, body temperature, heart frequency, breathing, weight, height. So it's all there, and you can also access the technical representation, the XML representation. So this is really a log of all the changes that happened in the EHR of one patient. So you have all the information here. The idea is you as a manager, you can detect potential errors. Maybe one document was sent to the EHR of a different patient. So you can detect that from here. And the contributions are all these changes to EHRs. And here, because I am an administrator of the system, I can see all the contributions to all the EHRs for all the patients in the system. Yeah, but if you are an organization manager, that is another role that the EHRServer supports. You will see just the contributions to the EHRs of the patients associated with your organization, and that is the organization I use to log into the management UI. Yeah, but here you can see information about the numbers of commits per month, yeah, of the last, I think this is 12 months. And you can see here the identifier, the date, and the EHR associated with the contribution. So the change was to this EHR. And if you go to one specific contribution, this is a specific change. This is a document that was added. That is why the change type of the document is creation, was added to the EHR of one patient. And we can see information about the log, really. This is audit information. We can see the specific document or documents. You can in one commit, you can send more than one document to the EHR of a patient. Think of a clinical visit, a medical visit, when the doctor records the information about the visit, but also prescribes you medication, and that's another document. And you can send both documents in the same commit to the EHRServer. So here, on that case, we will see two different documents for the same contribution. Yeah, and you can access here the same as I showed you before, the contents of the document in a visual format and the contents of the document in XML format. We'll support also see the contents of the document in JSON. That will be available soon. Versions is a nice feature and is required, and it's supported by the openEHR standard. The idea of this is that you can't modify any clinical document. So if you as a doctor record incorrect information, or some record is incomplete and you just commit the record and was incomplete, you can't change it. You can't erase it. It's already on the EHR of the patient. So what you can do is just create a new version of the document, create an amendment, a correction of that document, and send that document to the EHRServer. And what you will have in the EHRServer is all the versions of all the documents committed to the EHRServer, all the initial documents, but also all the amendments and corrections. So you will have that, and we support that in the EHRServer, and that's because openEHR supports versioning. Yeah, and that's very, very important, because on paper, if you record incorrect information, you can just take that paper away and just create a new document. But on an informatic system, you can't do that. And it's also about legal stuff. You can't remove things from the EHRs of your patients, really. So it can be used as legal proof. So this is about versions, and you can see here, you can see each document, and if you access the document, you can see here all the versions of that document. Here I have just one document with one version, but you can have more versions here. So you can track all the versions of all your documents, and you can see which changes were made for each document. Yeah. Directory is a way to organize the documents internally in an EHR. The EHR, you can just create a structure of folders, and you can associate clinical documents with those folders. It's no more than that, and that is supported on the EHR, on the openEHR standard. So we just implement that. It's a pretty basic functionality, but it's there. It can be improved also. And the queries, I think, is the most powerful feature of the EHRServer. It allows you to create queries from a user interface. I will show you that in a moment. And those queries will be available through the REST API. So you can just, from here, you can add new queries to get specific information and to be used from client applications of the EHRServer that use the EHRServer as a backend. Like I can create a vital sign query, and I can use that to show vital signs to patients on mobile applications, and just use the query I just created. The nice thing about this is that for creating new queries, you don't need to change the source code of the system. You don't need to write code, or you don't need to write SQL queries. You just need to use the user interface. We call that the query builder of the EHRServer. We have here some queries already created. I will show you how to execute queries here, because you can create the queries, but also you can try those queries out, so you can see if you are getting the right results for those queries before creating the queries. So you can test them, and if you see the results you need for those queries, you can just save the query. Yeah, I will first just show you a couple of different types of queries and how to execute them, and then I will create a couple of queries for you, just an example. You can have two types of queries: data value and composition. Data value is to retrieve data, just data points from the database, and composition is to retrieve the results of the query. Will be full documents, full clinical documents. I will go to the vital sign query. This is information related to openEHR. If you are not familiar with openEHR, just don't pay attention to this. But just to give you just an overview of this, of how this is used, we have identifiers of clinical concepts like blood pressure, body temperature, weight here, and this path represents a specific data point. So this path represents the systolic blood pressure in the blood pressure concept. This path represents the diastolic blood pressure in the blood pressure concept. This path represents the body temperature measure inside the body temperature concept. Yeah, so this is to get just specific data points. And this is the query just expressed as XML or JSON. We will use these formats to export and import queries from different instances of the EHRServer. So I will go to the edit button here, and from the query builder, this is the query builder interface. I will not change the query right now. I will just go down and press on test. And when I go to test, I can select one EHR. So I can select some general parameters for the query. I will select one EHR. I will pick just a date to constrain the total amount of results that we will get. We will get a lot of results if I don't constrain the from date. Remember, this is a query to get vital signs. So I will execute this, and we'll get some information back. You will see here information about the systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, temperature, weight, heart rate, etc. And you will see the information there. It's not much information because I set the from date. But if I set the from date, let's say October, that's here. I will execute this and I will get more information back. And this is on using JSON format because that format was selected on the query. I can also select XML as output. I will show that later. But if this is all the data that you get from the query, and we generate for you a nice chart so you can actually see the information to see if it makes sense. How this will be used? If you create a query like this, it will be available through the REST API. So if you just execute the query through the REST API, you will get the same information as I am seeing here. So with this information, you can do things like showing charts like this on your applications. Yeah, you can just show this to your doctors on using an EMR. You can show this to patients using a mobile application, maybe a patient portal or a v0.7. Yeah, so you can just go and implement this, and you can do this in less than a day. Implement a client to get this information processed and show the information. So it's really quick, and I will show you how I create a query in a couple of minutes. So it's very easy to create a query, to execute the query, and to integrate the result of the query with any kind of application. The other types of query are the ones that get documents as results. So I will try to execute this query that gets documents that has blood pressure record in them, and also the blood pressure is high. That is that the systolic blood pressure is above 140 or the diastolic blood pressure is above 90. That is mercury millimeters, the unit. So we'll do the same. I will go to the edit query, and here is all the query builder. I won't change this query. I will just go to test directly. I will do the same, select one EHR. Yeah. And you see here the option to retrieve data is on no. I will just tell you why it's on no. What you get here is not the clinical document itself. It's just a reference to the clinical document that contains a high blood pressure. But you have the ID of the clinical document, so you can use that ID to retrieve the full document. Yeah, and also you have a lot of useful information, like when the document was created, the unique identifier of the patient associated with the document, the unique identifier of the EHR that contains that clinical document, and more information that you can use, like the organization, for example. The organization is used, I didn't mention that, is used for multitenancy. So you can support different hospitals or clinics in the same EHRServer instance. And we have security rules, so users associated with one organization can't access the EHRs associated with another organization. So that is very useful. But I get these indexes, these references to documents, because I set the retrieve data on no. In general, you will use this with a retrieve data on no, because you don't want to get all the information, because you won't display all the information. Just will let maybe your doctors know that there exists a clinical document that has a high blood pressure record. And you can use also, you can count how many records do you have with high blood pressure. And if you have maybe 10 different records in the last year with high blood pressure for one of your patients, you can use that information to show an alert, maybe to the doctor, show a recommendation to the doctor. Hey, this patient has a tendency for high blood pressure. So you can let the doctor know that fact, and the doctor can, I don't know, maybe set a recommendation to the patient that for a low sodium diet, maybe, so eat less salt in your meals, or take some medication. So you can use this as input information for rules that can improve medical decision. Yeah, it's really useful with not this is not a lot of complexity, and you can do really smart things with this. So this is if I select retrieve data, no. But if I select retrieve data, yes, and I will set just allow from date there, because I might get a lot of information. You can see actually the clinical document here, and you can see blood pressure there, and you can see the values for the blood pressure here. This is following the openEHR standard structure. And this is on JSON. If I want the XML, I can just change here, JSON for XML. I can execute the same query, and I will see the XML output. Yeah, and this XML is compliant with the openEHR XML structure. Yeah, and this will be the information you get on your system when you use this query through the REST API. Yeah. So do you have any comments, questions? You can remember that you can send your comments here. You can just in the event page, you can put your comments, your questions here. I will answer all your questions. Just as an example, I will create one query for you so you can see how queries are created. The first thing you need to do is just assign a name to your query. This should be something meaningful of what the query does or what information you want to retrieve. Yeah, so I will just, because this is an example, I will just say that I want documents. And because I want documents, I will select composition. Composition is the word we use to reference clinical documents in openEHR, because openEHR uses this term to define clinical documents. So we use composition, and here you have the concepts. These are clinical concepts. Some of them are in English, some of them are in Spanish. We will let you choose the language later. So you can see the names of the concepts in your language. That's an improvement we need to do. But for now, just bear with me. I will try to, let's say, I have here a diagnosis. I select the concept diagnosis, and here on data point, I can see all the information associated with the concept diagnosis. Yeah. So I can do things like select the severity. Sorry, this is in Spanish, but it's severity. And severity is a text that has a code associated with it. So I can define a criteria to search for those codes. Yeah. And I can set the condition. This is just an operator to compare. I can set the code should be equal to, and I can select one of those codes, or can just say the code should be in this list, and I can select low or moderate. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is creating a query that says, hey, retrieve all the documents that have information about a problem, a health problem or a diagnosis, that the severity of that problem is in the list of low or moderate. So I can really set a complex criteria to search for information. And where this list, sorry, it's in Spanish, but it's low, moderate, and severe. Where this list come from? It comes from the template. I said that the templates are the definitions of clinical documents in the openEHR world. So you have all this information on the definition of the clinical documents. And I will add that criteria. So I can see here the criteria. So I want the problem diagnosis. This identifies the severity. It says the type of information, it's a text, coded text, and the condition that I will use for querying is that the code on the severity is on the list of one of these two. These two represent this low or moderate. Yes, and so I can, instead of creating, I can just test this query. So I will do the same as before. Just select a patient from the patient list, and just execute the query, and I'm getting XML results with references to clinical documents that have the diagnosis with a severity low or moderate. Yeah, and if you want this on JSON format, you just select JSON here, and you will retrieve JSON. And also, if you want the data, not just the references to the clinical document, I want the data. This will take longer, of course, because clinical documents are bigger than just the references. And here I can see if I search for, this has a lot of information, vital signs there, exam. Let's see if I can have problem diagnosis. This is the concept we use to search. And I will search for severity here, location, severity. We have the severity node, and the value of the severity is low. So we are searching for severity low or moderate, and this makes sense with our search. So that's it. And after this, if this is the query you want, you just go here and create the, sorry, there's a lot of information there. You just create the query, and this query will be available to be executed by external systems that use the EHRServer, and they will see the same data as you see here. So it's very easy. I create one query in less than a minute. Has useful information of patients that have one diagnosis with severity low or moderate, or you can just select instead of moderate, you can select severe. If I don't know, if you are making a query for clinical documents for an emergency department, you might want this to make some kind of statistics or to analyze data. So you can do that. You can actually do that. And all these parameters, you can set all these parameters from the API also. You can say if you want XML and we set JSON here, you can say send XML as a parameter to the API, and you will receive the data in the XML format. This is just the default format if you don't send anything. Also, I select here the EHR of one patient, but you will set the EHR you want to query data from as a parameter. Also, it's a parameter. The from date is a parameter, to date is a parameter, and if you want to retrieve or not the data is also a parameter of the API. So it's really useful. It's simple, it's useful, and you don't have to change code every time you need a new query. You just come here and create a query on the fly. And you can test it before creating it. So it's very useful. It doesn't take much time. It's not a lot of complexity. Once you get familiar with some openEHR concepts, like the archetype identifiers you see here, when you see openEHR, EHR, evaluation, problem diagnosis, this is an identifier of an archetype. An openEHR archetype, and when you see all these types of data, DB text, DB date, datetime, DB call text, or are just types of data in the openEHR standard. So once you get familiar with that, it's very easy, and that's why we make these demos. So to let you know how to use the system, and you know, just to make it less complex for people that doesn't know the standard or doesn't have experience with the standard. The template is also a core part of the system because everything is based on this. All the queries are based on this. All the supported documents that you can commit to the server are based on the templates loaded in the server. When you define a clinical document, you need to upload it, and you need to define the clinical document in an openEHR template. You can design your own templates using free to use tools. openEHR archetype editor. You have two tools you might use: the archetype editor and the template designer. The archetype editor is to create concepts, like blood pressure, body temperature, etc. All the concepts that we use for the search. And the template designer is to create clinical document definitions where you use the concepts defined in archetypes. So it's not so complex to do. This is software that is free to use, and also it's just most of the tasks are just drag and drop things. So it's very easy, and there are videos in YouTube that just show you how to use these systems. Yeah. Another system that you might use is the CKM, is the Clinical Knowledge Manager, openEHR. Here, instead of creating your own archetypes, your concepts, you can come here and just grab some of the concepts that are already created for you, and these are also free to use. So you can come here and say, I want a clinical document that has a record of blood pressure. So you come here to observations and you look for blood pressure here, and you just take a look at the information of the blood pressure to see if it's correct, and you can just download the archetype. This is a nice visual representation. You have systolic, diastolic, state of the patient, and some information about how you took the blood pressure measure, and you just record the measure here on data. But you can download the archetype to use it. Yeah. So you just download here, and you can load the archetypes in the template designer and just design one template. Once you have the template, you just upload it here on the openEHR on the EHRServer, and that's it. That will be available for you to create queries to that document definition. You will be able to receive instances of those documents from client applications. So you can really support any kind of document with any internal structure. You just need to model those documents using openEHR templates. That's it. And then you have, just quickly through this, you have user information. These are users of this system, of the EHRServer, that will be admins or will be managers of organizations. Yeah, but that's it. And we have a lot of users here because we use the EHRServer also for our workshops and courses. But there is also a lot of people testing the EHRServer. There are some PhD students using the EHRServer for their research projects. There are a lot of companies, software development companies, that are testing the EHRServer to use it in their products. So it's very nice. We have a lot of users actually testing the system. Of course, we invite you to test it. Also, you just need to create an account, and you will be using the system in less than a minute. About the roles, you have some roles here that you can manage. I'm an admin, so I can manage roles. The two roles that we have right now that really do something are the admin and the organization manager. We use these roles for security, and we have security rules and access rules to the EHRs of the patients, and we use those two roles to know to which EHR those users associated with these roles can access. These other roles are roles we imagine that might be useful but we are not using them right now. So if you have any idea of or need of adding more roles, and setting more security rules, access rules, please let us know. You have also organizations. You can create organizations. Those organizations can be will be, when you create them, will be associated with you, with your user, and you can associate. You can create more users and associate other users with the organizations that you create. When you create an account in the EHRServer, one organization will be created for you, because all servers, all users need to be associated with one organization, and all the EHRs will be associated with one organization. So you will really access just the EHRs that are associated with an organization that you can access, and that applies for the users on the user interface, and also for the users using the REST API. We have a lot of security rules executed on every request to the REST API, checking that the user has permission to access the EHR that was requested. So we take that into account. The last item is the ID types. This is just types of identifiers that you can associate with people. When you create a person, you can associate an identifier and a type of identifier, and the type is taken from this list. So you can set here just in your country the national ID number, or for the health system, the health card ID, something like that, license number, whatever you use in your country, you can just set it here. So you can create patients that have those types of identifiers. And that's it. That's the demo of the EHRServer. If you have any questions, any comments, would be really, I will take a couple of minutes to address those. If you don't have questions, just thank you for being here. And about how you can contribute to the project, because remember, this is an open source project. You can come to GitHub, look for the project. I am Pablo Pasos, on GitHub, and you can look for the Cabo Labs EHRServer repository. And if you find any issues, you can report the issues here. Just go to issues, new issue here. Also, if you have a question, you can put your questions here. You have problems installing or configuring the EHRServer, you can just come here and report them. And you can download the code. You can download the whole code as a zip, or you can do a clone through Git. This will download the current development version of the application. If you want to download a release, you go to releases here, and you can here grab the latest release. It's the version 07. But I recommend you to just grab the current development version, because it has all the latest improvements and works well. We have a lot of testing of the server. We have a little thing here that let us know if we broke anything. If it's green, it is good, so you can use the development version. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you can put them here in the event page. If not, thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to present to you the EHRServer. One comment about the next steps to the EHRServer. We used the GitHub milestones as a roadmap. So here are all the things that we will take care until version 1.0. And we are planning on the next month to deploy one version on a production server to give a hosted version of the EHRServer with a model of software as a service. So the idea is to first to give free access to that. We need to set up the server and make it available, so you can test it for free as any software as a service product. And if you see value on that, you can pay. That will be pay per use, and we'll make it really cheap, because we want this to be used. So you will have all the possibilities available. You can download this, install it, and use it in your own server, or you will have a hosted version on a big server in the cloud, and you can use it to integrate your applications, and you don't have to manage your own server. And you will have some services. We will let you know later, but you will have some additional services like backup, periodic backups, or on-demand backups, and some also features for scaling your servers, or I mean also high availability. We'll do that, but I will let you know later. But just to let you know that we are working in that direction. You can use it for free for any commercial or open project that you want, and you have also access to us. If you have any questions, you can just let us know. We use this repository to solve all the questions from people that is actually testing it and using it. So you have all the alternatives available very soon. Yeah, if you have any comments, please let me know. If you have any ideas for improvements, let us know, because that is very helpful for us. That's it on my part. This video will be available on YouTube, I think tomorrow or tonight. So thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.